It's time for the Call of Duty Finest Hour review for the Gamecube. Believe it or not, this not only was the first Call of Duty I ever played, but up until this review, it is the only Call of Duty game I've ever played. I've never been too interested in military FPSs, but since this franchise is so successful, I wanted to see how it all started. Now, this isn't the actual first Call of Duty game published, but it is the first console version. The game takes place in World War II, and when you start up a new game file, you are inserted into the middle of a battle between Russian and Nazi forces. The first mission is basically the tutorial of the game, but don't think it's so forgiving because you just began. Keeping your head low, listening to your commanders, and reacting very quickly is the only way to keep yourself alive. The game is filled with a variety of missions, like taking out a Nazi bunker, retrieving Axis information, and blowing up an enemy airfield are only some of the objectives. As you move through your mission, you will meet up with another ally, and once your mission is complete, the next level, so to speak, is now taking control of that new person with a new task. This formula continues like this until you move on to a different geographical battle. Every transition between battles consists either in-game cutscenes or actual World War II footage, overlaid with historic information and mission objectives. I like these real cutscenes. It gives you a better sense of what the war was like, and makes you feel more involved when playing the game. As I stated before, each mission isn't the same. Sure, the main objective of staying alive is of course there, but how you complete each mission varies. Like here, I'm supposed to reach the top of that bunker and take down the Nazi flag that flies over it. I have to avoid machine gun fire and infantry soldiers by taking trenches up to the top. Here I'm a sniper and I have to help the team I'm with take down enemies trying to destroy the building I'm in before backup arrives. And here I need to get from point A to point B with the help of my tank. I really appreciate the variety of missions. It helps keep things fresh and interesting. I didn't like how scarce checkpoints in each mission were. Sometimes I'd be pretty far into a level, and then I'd die, and then I'd have to start way back in the beginning of the mission. Like, come on! This is one of the most frustrating, if not the most frustrating thing about the game. The graphics look pretty good in some parts of the game, but in others, not so much. Some textures are blocky and bland. Not the worst I've seen on the GameCube, but definitely not great. The controls are okay, but it can take a bit to remember which buttons perform which actions. I kept getting confused by mixing the X and Y buttons, but for the most part, pointing and shooting aren't difficult. I will say that it isn't easy for me to play FPSs using a control scheme that isn't the Wiimote or a mouse. I didn't like how grenades worked. You couldn't set the distance you wanted to throw them, and it seemed to take forever to throw one. I did like how you could stack med packs and even give them to your team, which, by the way, actually do help with attacking and taking down enemies. The audio sounded fine when it came to explosions and environmental sounds. The voice acting was very well done, which made you feel more engaged in each mission. The game isn't without glitches. Yeah, so there you go. I couldn't believe this game has no multiplayer mode. Like, really? Was there not enough room on the disc? Was the game rushed? I just don't get that at all. Call of Duty Finest Hour is an okay game. Pretty good graphics, good controls and audio, the variety of missions helped break up some of the monotony, the cutscenes were informative and interesting, the AI actually helped and were sometimes vital to your success, and being able to heal your own team was helpful. However, I really didn't like the lack of checkpoints in each mission, the grenades were almost useless, the handful of glitches takes your mind out of the game for a bit, not good when you're trying to stay alive, no multiplayer mode was disappointing, and the game just doesn't have a wow factor to it, which doesn't make me want to come back and play it. Overall though, it's a decent shooter that has its ups and downs. I've heard the newer Call of Duty games are better, and I'm sure they are based on every year there's a new one. But as far as this game goes, I did have an okay time playing it, but I don't see myself coming back to it anytime soon. This game gets a 3.25 out of 5 with the title of Passable. Oh yes, and Merry Christmas.
Let's go! Come on! Just squash them with their pulse cannon! Alright, let's go! Pulse cannon, come on! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!